Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. I am Nitin Gokhale, and with me today is the Vice Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ashok Kumar, who is going to speak to us about the Navy's efforts at repatriation and evacuation of Indian nationals from various countries around the region, and of course on other issues that the Navy is dealing with. Welcome to this program, Vice Admiral. Tell us what has the Navy planned for the evacuation of Indians from various countries?
There are a number of measures that the Indian Navy has taken. Naval ships are particularly susceptible. If there is one case, it could kind of spread quite rapidly. So what we did was we had thought through this well in advance and quarantined the ship's crew for about 14 days in harbour before the ships are put to sea.
Right.
So that kind of a period is now come to an end. So the naval ships identified in each of the commands are ready actually to go for undertaking this important task of repatriating our own nationals from the countries where they are. Yesterday we've kind of got a go ahead. There are two ships which have headed out to the Middle East region. As to which port, from where and how many, we would get to know, because we'll take about 3 days to reach the Middle East. And these ships are Airavat and Shardul. And there are two ships which are on their way to the Maldives, Jalashwa and Magar. And this would reach there, and the local embassies are catering for all the requirements prior to embarkation. Once embarked, we are also ensuring that the numbers that can be embarked have been moderated so as to maintain social distance and whatever it takes to ensure safety of theirs. We have also embarked medical teams on board to attend to any emergency that may come up. Once upon arrival, depending upon where they are to be brought, the local governments would set up for quarantine facilities for them to be quarantined for 14 days, as well as other formalities like immigration and things like that.
Sure.
So that's what is happening.
But these ships obviously are not meant to carry so many people around, although you have done this before a number of times. Did you have to alter or modify the ships in some way?
We have not undertaken any massive modification, but the only thing is that the ships which we have now diverted are all the LSTLs and the LPD. So as a result, they are quite used to carrying troops of the army. So therefore, getting manpower on board should not be much of an issue. But having said that, what we needed to do was to ensure that the requisite medical equipment, medical teams and other things which are specifically COVID related were all embarked alongside. That was what had to be undertaken.
Okay, but then just to explain to the viewers, what do LST means and what the LPD means?
Basically these are amphibious ships, and they are capable of kind of undertaking expeditionary operations. So their fundamental job is to ensure that army troops are carried from place A to place B.
Right.
So therefore, there is enough additional space on board for catering for anybody else who might embark.
So in this case, when the ships that have gone to Middle East, normally how many people can they carry back in one ship?
So what we have done is that because of the constraints of the situation that we are in, where social distancing needs to be maintained, we are catering for about 250 to 275 per ship for LSTL.
Right.
Whereas Jalashwa, being an LPD, which is much larger, can carry about 750.
Oh, that's a large number actually.
That's right.
Yeah. So maybe Maldives will have in one go, people can come back in that sense.
That's right. And if there is a requirement, the naval, in fact, there are more naval ships which are ready, having gone through the process of quarantining and things like that. So we'll be able to divert as many ships. The Western Naval Command is fully geared up for that. And in addition, these very ships which are doing this will be able to be put to sea again and do a number of trips depending upon the number of personnel.
Right. So normally, how long does it take to go to Middle East, let's say from Mumbai to Middle East?
Mumbai to Middle East at the speed of about say 14 knots, which these ships would do, is about 3.5 days.
Okay.
And Maldives is just around the corner, so about 1.5 days.
1.5 days. So when do you expect to start the first of the return ships coming in?
We expect from the Middle East, if going as per plan, if nothing else happens along the way, we should be able to start our journey back by about 7th evening or 8th morning.
Okay. So that's not too far away.
That's not too
we
far
are
away.
already speaking on the 5th
That's right.
Of May. But apart from the evacuation and repatriation of Indians in these regions, the Indian Navy is also involved in taking medical supplies and other supplies, essentials to the region, especially the Indian Ocean region. Give us some details about that.
As you're aware, the Indian Navy, over the period of years has actually become a preferred security partner for the region. Our foreign cooperation initiatives in the Indian Ocean region and beyond actually is something that we can really be proud of. And so there are a number of things that we do with the foreign countries, whether it is coordinated patrols, whether it is EZ patrols for them. We are all part of the IONS framework, the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. They have the IFC IOR through which we interact with almost all these countries with whom we have the white shipping exchange, technical agreement, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There is already a plan in place for us to carry food grains and medical teams and equipment along with medicines for a number of countries, especially in the Southwest IOR, starting from Maldives to Mauritius to Seychelles to Madagascar and so on and so forth.
Okay. So that clearly shows the reach and the kind of capacity that the Indian Navy has. It has proved it time and again, and once more you are actually doing that. But apart from the COVID-19 related operations or relief measures that you are taking, how has it not affected your operational role? And give us some details on that.
We have ensured that our guard is not put down at all. In fact, the operational taskings of our Western and Eastern fleets on both the Western Naval Command and East, as well as the Southern Naval Command, and let me also include the SINCAN, the Andamans and Nicobars, all our operations are actually continuing as if there's no change at all. For instance, the number of Indian flagships that cross the Strait of Hormuz, this side and that side of the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis continues to remain anything between 30 and 40.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. So, and number of them carrying actually crude oil and the others cargo. And therefore, the situation, as you are aware, as to what exists in that region, we have been deploying a ship for Op Sankalp, and that Op Sankalp has continued unabated and it continues to date.
Right.
The anti-piracy deployment in the Gulf of Aden, that continues. In fact, Sunaina has now been there for over 2.5 months. And I must also tell you one more thing. Previously, we used to enter a port ever so frequently, not only for topping up, but also for R&R, rest and recreation of the crew. But this time, because we are not entering any of the foreign ports, because of the situation that we are in, the Western Naval Command has actually been supporting the ships through tankers and fueling. So, just to give you an example, Sunaina, which is there at the Gulf of Aden, has not touched a port for the last 65 days.
That's a long period
That's
of
right,
time.
that's right. And here, the ship is just an OPV.
Yeah.
And actually, by the time she finishes her tasking and comes back by end of the month, she would have been at sea continuously for more than 90 days.
That's a long number.
And same is the case with the ship which is at the Strait of Hormuz. So, those have continued. On the eastern seaboard, we've got the Maldep, which is at the mouth of the Malacca Strait, which is undertaken by the Eastern Naval Command and the Andaman and Nicobar Command in rotation. That too is continued. There is a ship which is continuously deployed 24/7, 365 days. We do continue to undertake EZ patrols. In fact, as we speak, an EZ patrol of Maldives is currently on.
Okay.
So we have not stopped any of these. So that's all going on.
So you also have the reconnaissance, the PA ties flying in this region.
In fact, the air tasking has actually only increased because we continue to maintain coastal security deployments by ships, and also the offshore development areas, the ODA patrols by the ISVs, both on the western and the eastern seaboards, they continue. And the coastal security searches by Dorniers and the UAVs, they continue as if there has just been no change at all. The PA ties continue to go along into the Arabian Sea, the southern Indian Ocean, and to the Bay of Bengal for developing maritime domain awareness, for picking out any suspicious contacts and things like that. That tasking has not reduced at all. So all this is actually giving us a comprehensive maritime domain awareness, which is a picture which is there at the IFC IOR, which is actually shared with all our friends too.
Yeah, and you do this from Malacca Straits right up to the eastern shores of Africa. beyond.
That's right, and beyond. Actually, because from the Gulf of Aden to the Malacca and from the northern Indian Ocean region up to the southern Indian Ocean region, we have the area covered.
That's right. So, let me come to some of the early effects of COVID that happened in the Navy. You detected some positive cases and immediately quarantined them. That happened, I think, in Mumbai one, and I think there is one more instance somewhere that has happened. How have you dealt with the challenge of keeping ships are very closely sort of packed together, sailors and officers there? So how have you managed to keep the numbers down of positive cases?
Yes, we did have the first case at INS Angre, which is the base depot ship, which is a shore establishment, on the 6th of April. And the Western Naval Command actually reacted extremely well. There were a sudden spike in the numbers because it's in any of these shore establishments you will find that it's quite like a ship. People live at close quarters. And so the messes are kind of common, the bathrooms are common, and so it was unavoidable that it kind of spread. But the actions that were taken by the Western Naval Command in quarantining the entire block and not letting that spread, I think was a commendable job. Finally, the numbers swelled up to about 38 or so, out of which number of them have actually asymptomatic. In fact, how it was detected was only because the WNC went ahead and tested them, despite the fact that they were asymptomatic, just because they stayed in the same mess. And so that is why the numbers came up to about 38. As we speak, a number of them have been discharged. In the hospital, there are about 21 personnel who are still admitted. And by and large, I think the problem should be behind us, if Western Naval Command. There have been a couple of cases at Calcutta, which happened yesterday. And again, similar actions have been taken there too, in order to quarantine and ensure that the numbers are kept well within limits.
That's right.
The other places we have not had any incidences, whether it is Vizag or Cochin or on any of our ships or submarines or air stations, there has been no case of COVID. And I think the actions that have taken were all very, very good.
I think so. And like now, I think when you bring back these people, that will be another challenging phase when these ships come back. If the ship is not going back again for a turnover, for bringing back Indians from these regions, you will have to quarantine those people again when they come back, or how are you planning? The crew,
are you talking about the crew?
The crew.
Yeah. So what we would do is that insofar as the personnel who are being repatriated, as I mentioned, the state governments will take care of the quarantine. But in our case, what the commands do is that they've created adequate quarantine facility for the ship's crews which are being deployed or which come back. In fact, in a lot of cases, what happens is that this quarantine period for the entire ship's company is while on the way back itself. But in these cases, because they would have mixed with personnel who are being repatriated from other countries, there will be a requirement for them to be kept away. But there are considerable amount of facilities that the commands have created for that to happen. So we'll ensure that.
So one final question. Navy is also contributing, if I am not mistaken, on developing some of these innovative equipment for the personal protection or ventilators. I saw something with DRDO, something has been developed. So are you sort of asking some of your depots or your establishments to do this?
In fact, that is one area in which I think the Navy has done a very, very good job. In fact, all our dockyards, both Naval Dockyard Mumbai as well as Naval Dockyard Vizag, as well as the Naval Aircraft Yard at Kochi, all of them have come out with some innovation or the other. Like for example, the personal protective gear which was manufactured in ND Mumbai has now been cleared, it has gone through the lab tests and been cleared for mass production. So the dockyard will start doing that. Similarly, a multi-feed manifold for oxygen cylinders was created by the Naval Dockyard Vizag, which provides oxygen from one cylinder to 6 different patients.
Correct.
So these are initiatives which are very good. In fact, Cochin has done a lot too. They've created a stretcher which can prevent the spread of COVID from a patient to anybody else if he's being, it's kind of completely covered with an oxygen feed into it. So these are the kind of initiatives. The Navy Wives Welfare Association, they've been spending time and energy in ensuring that such masks are stitched, for use by this thing. The other initiative that the Navy took was that to train sailors for paramedic duties in case the situation became overwhelming, that they could be utilized for such duties too.
Okay.
So these are some of the initiatives.
So great contribution in that sense. Hopefully we'll all come out of this wiser and healthier. But certainly unprecedented situation for everyone, and I think Navy is coping very well. So on that note, thank you very much for your time and giving us the kind of information and insight what the Navy has been doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nitin. Nice talking to you as always.
Same here.